Lamb should post his job status as open because right now him and the Dallas Cowboys are at an impasse. Jerry Jones did a press conference yesterday and said, "I'm in no rush to extend CD," to which he quote tweeted that and said, "LOL." He's erased all Dallas Cowboys affiliation from
I love the
social media
pettiness,
profiles.
by the way.
Petty wars at a full-time high, but we know the Browns are at least interested in potentially acquiring a top-flight receiver. They've been rumored in the Brandon Aiyuk sweepstakes, so there's been no connection between CD and the Cowboys and the Browns, but if they were interested in Aiyuk, they might also be interested in CD if he becomes available. And if Dallas were to make him available, is he worth the godfather of all godfather offers that the Browns may not have been willing to give up for Aiyuk? Is CD that much better?
Y'all got me to be measured the last week. I said, yeah, man. Brandon.
I was surprised.
I was
too, to be honest with you.
I was a little measured last week, but
we're wearing off on you.
but hey, listen.
Mr. Kool-Aid came busting through on this one.
Like this. Pow! Pow! Kick the door in. Give them everything they want. I got number ones back. I got ones back.
How many number ones you want?
I got a couple ones. I got some twos. I got receivers.
Like the watch guy with the jacket.
You want Amari Cooper back?
Man, come on. I got Amari Cooper back. Hey, listen, look, hey, bro, we willing to, listen, what you talk about? You give me CeeDee Lamb. Now, there's levels to this thing, bro. It's real levels to him. Jerry Jones, what are you doing? You look like you can't get it right with receivers. Why you always breaking up with receivers? You had a love affair with Terrell Owens. Then you had to get him up out of there. Then who's the other dude? The other 88? Who was it? Dez Bryant. You was going back and forth with Dez Bryant. And then you had Amari Cooper. You got rid of him for free. And now you like, there's no urgency.
No urgency to get a deal done.
That is wild. And you still be giving running backs money. Like, don't you listen to these dudes? They tell me every week you don't get no running back no money. You give Zeke money, Tony Pollard money. Like, come on, bro. They got to figure this out, bro. Look, I got whatever he want. A meal plan. Listen, I'll have my people go get him from the airport. Mom, Dad, Rosie, get up. Get up. CeeDee Lamb is coming. Yeah, get up.
You need to ride.
You need to get in rent the van. Get the big van. He got people with him. Come on, man.
Get 88 spray paint on the side.
Right.
Jay, are you a voice of reason here on this, or are you all in too?
Well, I mean, there's no way they're getting rid of him. Like, Jerry Jones is a showman, and you're right. Like, they have had issues with receivers in the past, but he said the same thing about Zeke. You mentioned Zeke. He said the same thing about Zeke and signed him like 2 weeks later, or 3 weeks later, whatever it was. I don't know why he goes about doing it this way, but I've talked to people who are very, like, in Jerry's inner circle people who say he loves to be talked about. He's the one guy, he's got the thickest skin in the game. It doesn't matter what you say about him or his team. He doesn't care just so you're talking about him. Keep his name in your mouth. That's it.
Wild.
He just
Even
wants
in vain.
you
That's
talking
wild.
about him. Yeah. So, and he basically said that yesterday as well when he was talking about this, that he loves to entertain and he loves to be talked about. That's all this is. Now, the part that just blows my mind is he's pissing off one of his best players for no reason. There's no reason to do it. But ultimately, I think they are going to give him a bag, and it's not going to matter. So, I mean, if he becomes available, yeah, okay, make an offer. Go for it. I don't think it's going to get to that point.
You're right. It will never get to that point, and it will be just a short week or two before we see Jerry Jones and CeeDee Lamb at the same news conference yucking it up. Just like we used to with Reggie and Billy Martin back in the 70s.
Yeah.
There is, to answer your question is, I don't know what his problem is with wide receivers. Chris Carter once told me, I don't know what it is with us, but we're a bunch of B words. We're a bunch of divas. Wide receiver, we need a lot of love and coddling and attention, and there's no position that has a greater collective ego than the wide receiver.
That's
I think
true.
you guys would agree with
That's
that.
100% true.
What is the one defining characteristic you would use when talking about Jerry Jones?
Diva.
Ego. So you got ego and ego. And you mentioned earlier Skip and Stephen A. Mm-hmm. And I was along for that ride for 9 years. Mm-hmm. And I saw these two mega egos. I've never worked with two bigger egos. And I say that as a term of affection, endearment. I love both of those guys. But what makes them who they are their egos.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I marveled every day. And people inside the network would pull me aside and say, so what's really going on this show? And I'd say, what you see is what you get. These guys love each other. Because they had a common goal, common cause. They wanted to win. They wanted to become the greatest debate show of all time. Mm-hmm. And they were able to make it work. So all egos have to have the following characteristic. You got to be able to coexist with other big egos. Because if there can only be one alpha in the room, I'll show you a loser in whatever. How many games have the Dallas Cowboys won in the playoffs since the Browns came back in 1999?
I think it's like.
How many playoff games have the Browns won?
I know that's one.
Okay, there you go.
I mean,
it's because of Jerry Jones.
I mean, he ran off Jimmy Johnson.
They've never been the same since. And here's why he ran off Jimmy Johnson, because in the moment, while this was going on in Dallas,
Jay, real quick, I want to amend that. They're 4-13 since '99.
Okay, when were those wins?
2009.
God.
2014, 2018, 2022.
Okay, now think about the money they've spent. And by the way, in much of that time, they've been on Sunday Night Football 197 times.
Yep.
Like they're America's team. Everybody has all these great expectations. They have been known as a colossal fail since he ran off Jimmy. And what was stunning to watch in real time as it happened, on his gravestone, in his first paragraph of his obituary, Jerry Jones, is going to be he fired Tom Landry, Jimmy Johnson, Barry Switzer. And if you look at the coaches that he's hired since then, for the most part, they've all had far less cachet and profile.
Yeah.
Or they were willing, like Mike McCarthy, I believe, to check whatever ego he had because he loves that money and he loves being part of the Dallas Cowboys. But the Dallas Cowboys have been what they are over the last 2.5 decades because Jerry Jones' ego is too big. And now it's getting in the way with CeeDee Lamb. And I don't think I don't think he's available at all. I mean, they can hate each other all they want. The one thing that would automatically get him to follow the Cowboys back is a 4-year, $160 million deal.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, Jay, I think. Like in the $40 million a year range. These recently penned wide receiver deals are all 30 plus.
He's
some
not getting
35.
40. The highest is 35. He's
I know it is.
$5 million more than Justin Jefferson.
But let me ask you this. Is he not the bar setter right now? Is he not?
Yeah, but you're not going to get $5 million more than Jefferson.
People told me that about quarterback. They're getting $10 million more than the old bar used to be.
Ain't no bar.
There's no bar.
The bar is The bar is what somebody is willing to pay you.
And Mike, by the way, he may not get $160 for 4. That's what he wants. That's what he wants. Or he's going to ask for.
He definitely wants at least 35. He wants to be the next highest paid. Yeah.
He's not going to take less than Jefferson. There's no way. That's what receivers do. They're looking at Jefferson. He's looking at Jefferson's number and saying, I'm better than he is. I'm an all-pro.
Yeah, but when they pass it by $1 million. So he'll be 36.
Typically they do, but they used to do that with quarterbacks too. Now they're blowing by the quarterback deals. They don't even care. They're just, and your line is absolutely accurate. What's the bar anymore? Like, we're talking about like endless funds these days where these contracts are going. But my point is that's what he wants. Jerry Jones understands that he wants to win another Super Bowl in his lifetime so he can prove that all of the ones they won in the 90s with these great coaches and this roster that was gifted to him by the Vikings, he wants to prove that was me, that wasn't them. Because right now, the epitaph is, well, no, it was them, not you. Because you haven't done squat without them. He wants to win a Super Bowl. He knows his best chances with CeeDee Lamb catching passes. CeeDee Lamb's going nowhere.
Well, that job's coming open again, it sounds like. The Cowboys job. This is it for McCarthy.
Really? Yeah.
Well, it's coming open, but if they win the Super Bowl this year,
I mean, sure,
and he wants to come back.
The feeling right now,
this is it for him.
This is McCarthy's.
This is his last chance.
We'll see how this year goes.
Now, the really
but there's going to be a ton of
me,
NFL jobs come open.
The Dak contract is also the elephant in the room. He's on his last year.
Yeah,
and he's going to want to get paid. And Jerry, by the way, I don't know why, but Jerry talks about Dak like he's his long lost son. He loves him some Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
And I love Dak Prescott in the regular season. What I don't love is Dak Prescott in January. And that's why they've had no success in the playoffs.
Well, I will say this, man. People don't like what they don't like, but good luck finding quarterbacks because they don't grow on trees.
Elite ones are.
You slipped up on Dak. Let's be truthful. You third, like Dak been trying to get paid since he was a third round
Do you follow
pick.
the fan base of the Cowboys? Because I know you lived in Texas and you're up on.
I mean, I have friends who like the Cowboys.
Let me ask you this: would you say the average Cowboy fan, let's just say out of the Cowboy fan base, split it? What percent want to bring Dak back with what we know right now? Forget about what happens this year for another contract extension right now. What percent of the fan base would you say would want to do that?
Probably 60-40.
That want him back?
I would say, yeah. I mean, it's scary.
That's interesting.
I saw a report that he's going to want like $70 million.
Well, he is.
And the Cowboys not only do have CeeDee Lamb, who wants to reset the wide receiver market, they have Micah Parsons, who wants to reset the defensive end market, and they have Dak Prescott, who wants to reset the quarterback market at the same time.
You got to pick your poison.
That's
who are you going to pay?
Because I don't know how you pay all three of those.
Okay, of those three, let's rank them. I'm going CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, and Dak Prescott. Am I off?
I mean, quarterback's the most important position, but I don't think he's on the same level of elite at his position as CeeDee or Mike.
I'm going to pay one player $70 million a year. He's got all the rings right now.
Mahomes, yeah.
That's it.
I'd be terrified to pay Dak 70, but I also don't know how much better you can do than Dak, frankly.
Is that order right, do you think? CeeDee Lamb, Micah, and then Dak?
I would not have CeeDee first. I think I'd have CeeDee second.
Wow. Behind?
I don't know.
It's
you just
tough.
can't put him first.
It's very. That's why. Shout out to the Browns.
I think Micah's probably the best at his position.
I think the Cowboys could fool themselves into thinking they can find another quarterback because this is twice now with Romo and Dak, where they've found guys late, and turned them into really good players. Sure. Whether or not you want to call them, whatever. Those were two really good NFL quarterbacks. Yeah. And I think Jerry probably looks at this as we've done it twice. I'll do it again.
That's why I give the Browns credit.
That's an ego right there.
They got some of the same type caliber like Myles Garrett signed. You know, they found a way to get Amari Cooper. They found a way to get Jerry Jeudy signed. They gave Deshaun Watson his money, right? I don't know.
Nick Chubb seems to be
Nick Chubb,
at least for now.
Nick Chubb, they signed him up. They done found a way creatively to lock up their people. We've never had to have this conversation where
you're like literally
the receiver, the pass rusher, or the quarterback.
You're talking about three guys in the top 3 or 5 maybe at their position, and I think the only one that doesn't belong in that top 5 is Dak.
Yeah, the Browns have smartly and strategically, at the same time, getting lucky. Both can happen at the same time.
Yeah.
Have paid guys before they have reached the level of trying to reset the market.
Right.
That's what they did with Jerry
I think
Jeudy
strategically.
Here. And that's what I'm saying. But also, they've gotten lucky that Njoku paid out because if the players don't pan out, then it's obviously an overpay. They've hit on those and they've restructured the right contracts. Which the Dallas Cowboys, for a team that's as valuable as they are, the most valuable franchise in American sports, spends almost the least amount of actual money on their roster. I think they were 30th last year in actual cash spent on the roster. The Browns, on the flip side, were number 1 in 2020.
And Jerry has that oil money.
Now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's still the cap is the cap, but to your point, Mike, the Browns. I've talked to people in the Browns who, when you believe in someone, you get in first, not last. Get in first. Be the first one to hand them that contract. Don't be last. And
I like that approach.
Baltimore learned that the hard way with Lamar.
Yeah.
And Buffalo got in early with Josh Allen. Baltimore came late with Lamar. But when you believe in the Browns, the minute they had the opportunity to extend Nick Chubb, they did. The minute they could extend Miles, they did. The minute they could with Baker,
very smart with
they
that.
did not. And that, to me, I said that at the time. Look at what they did with all these other guys. The minute they could, they extended him, except him. That told you all you needed to know about him.
Get that JOK deal done, please.
And by the way, I still think that
that's next, and that's going to tell you. That will tell you if they believe or not.
Yeah.
If it happens.
And by the way, using Baker as an example of a guy that they didn't, I still can't say that they made the right decision on that.
I would not have given him what the going rate was at the time. I would not have given him that money. We'll never know how much less he would have taken.
Yeah, we won't.
I would not
because
have given him,
it didn't get to that point.
I wouldn't have given him the 30-35 at the time.
Look at what 30. Look right now. Look at what that looks like.
It's less than Daniel Jones.
A bargain.
30's a bargain contract.
That's cheap.
It's unbelievable.
Which I can't believe we're saying that because 5 years ago that was the bar, and now it's double plus that.
And that goes back to the Browns' point of when get in early.